"I never loved you, Elira," he said, his voice steady and cold. "This wedding, this whole thing, was just for revenge," he said, but didn't scream. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, lips parting in a calm, curious smile, like she'd just been handed the final piece of a puzzle. A man marries a woman to destroy her for revenge, only to discover she knew all along and was using the wedding to expose his darkest secrets. But before we start the video, let us know where you're watching this video, and if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe, Story Store, and please share your thoughts about this story in comment section. In medias res, rain lashed against the towering stained glass windows of Ivy Crest Church. Thunder cracked outside, echoing through the silent crowd gathered under golden chandeliers. Everything was perfect, until the groom shattered it all. Leo Vandell stood at the altar, hand locked with his bride's, eyes sharp like blades. "I never loved you, Elira," he said, his voice steady and cold. "This wedding, this whole thing, was just for revenge." Gasps sliced through the room like lightning. The priest's hand froze mid-blessing. Cameras clicked wildly. A bridesmaid dropped her bouquet. But Elira didn't move. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't even blink. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, lips parting in a calm, curious smile, like she'd just been handed the final piece of a puzzle. "Oh," she said gently, her voice steady. "You think I didn't know?" Leo's eyes narrowed. His rehearsed smirk faltered. "What did you say?" She stepped closer, just enough so only he could hear. "You think you played me, Leo," she whispered. "But you just stepped into my plan." The crowd shifted, confused. Someone whispered, "What's happening?" Elira turned toward the guests, lifted her veil, and looked around the room like a queen surveying her kingdom. "Everyone, please stay seated. The real ceremony is just beginning." Leo's heart thudded. Something was wrong, very wrong. He planned every move for months, the charm, the proposal, the wedding date. He was in control. He was always in control. So why was Elira looking at him like she had been the hunter all along? Outside, the thunder rolled again. This time, like applause for a twist no one saw coming. And inside the church, the groom finally realized he wasn't the one with the secret anymore. 3 months before the wedding, Leo Vandell entered Elira Miles' world like a storm in a suit, charming, calculated, and pretending to be smitten. He spotted her across the ballroom at a luxury hotel gala. She was magnetic, commanding attention with a confident smile, wrapped in emerald silk, laughing with investors like she owned the place. Leo watched from the shadows, already planning. She doesn't even know I'm coming for her. Elira's late father once humiliated Leo's family, stealing the Vandells' prized heritage hotel deal. Leo had been waiting a decade for payback, and now the daughter had walked straight into his playground. So he moved fast. He accidentally spilled wine near her table. He made her laugh with a humble story about failing in college. He showed her just enough vulnerability to disarm her. And when she smiled back, warm, curious, maybe a little intrigued, Leo felt a rush of victory. But what Leo didn't know was that Elira already knew who he was. From the moment he walked into that ballroom, she'd recognized him, the eyes, the name, the family legacy. She had read all about Leo Vandell in her father's old journals. "He thinks he's hunting me," she thought. "Let's see how far he's willing to go." And so, the dance began. A whirlwind of romantic dinners, spontaneous weekend trips, and whispered promises. But behind every smile, Elira was watching, calculating. She let him think he was leading. Because sometimes the best way to catch a predator is to let him think you're prey. 6 weeks after they met, Leo dropped to one knee under a shower of fireworks at the rooftop of the Marlowe Hotel, a property Elira's father once outbid the Vandals for. It was poetic, it was bold, it was perfect for Leo's revenge. "Elira Miles," he said, eyes glinting under the lights, "will you make me the happiest man alive?" The crowd erupted in cheers. A photographer captured the exact moment Elira gasped, hands to her mouth. But only she knew what that gasp truly meant. This hotel, this night. Of course, Leo chose this spot. She blinked away tears, half real, half rehearsed, and said yes with a dazzling smile. Leo slipped the ring on her finger, the crowd applauded, and to everyone watching, it was the perfect modern love story. But beneath the sparkle, both bride and groom were hiding motives. Leo thought he was closer than ever to destroying her family's legacy. The engagement would ensure access to her estate, her accounts, her past. Meanwhile, Elira was already meeting in secret with her late father's lawyer, digging into files Leo didn't know still existed, files that detailed his family's buried scandals. As the ring glinted on her finger, Elira looked up at Leo and whispered, "You have no idea how lucky I feel." And Leo smiled, clueless that the ring he gave her had just become part of his own undoing. The wedding preparations began like a dream. Designer fittings, destination tastings, elite guest lists. Leo played the role of the perfect fiancé, charming, attentive, obsessed. Everyone believed he was head over heels. Everyone except Elira. While Leo staged romantic moments for the press and posed for interviews with wedding magazines, Elira was busy unlocking pieces of a puzzle he didn't even know she was building. She had installed a hidden camera in his office, a tracker on his phone, and with the help of her tech-savvy best friend, Sienna, she had access to Leo's encrypted emails. And that's when she found it. A thread labeled Operation Ivy Final Phase. Dozens of messages. Plans to transfer properties, forge signatures. Even a secret prenup hidden in legal jargon that, if signed, would hand over everything Elira owned on the wedding night. Her stomach twisted. Leo wasn't just playing with her heart. He was playing with her entire life. But instead of confronting him, she smiled wider, laughed louder, and acted even more in love. Because now, she didn't just want to escape his trap, she wanted to flip it. And as Leo kissed her on their engagement photo shoot, whispering sweet nothings in her ear, Elira whispered back with a smile, "I can't wait for our wedding night." 2 weeks before the wedding, Leo left for a sudden business trip, but Elira knew better. Using the tracker he never noticed, she watched him drive not to an office, but to a remote estate her father once investigated, a place called Rookvale Manor. With Sienna's help, Elira gained access to old blueprints. Hidden beneath the manor was a sealed basement, unregistered, untraceable. That night, while Leo was away, Elira made her move. She broke into his penthouse office using a fingerprint mold she'd lifted off his whiskey glass. Inside, past rows of perfectly stacked folders, she found a locked drawer. One hairpin later, it clicked open. Inside, copies of her property deeds. Her father's old signatures, forged. And worst of all, a voice recorder labeled Confession for Leverage. She played it. It was her, edited, twisted. It sounded like she admitted to laundering money with her father, a complete lie. Her heart pounded. Leo wasn't just trying to steal her legacy, he was framing her for her father's unfinished business. But Elira wasn't the same girl she'd been months ago. She copied everything, took photos, sent them to a lawyer she trusted. And when Leo texted, "Miss me," she replied with a kiss emoji. Soon you will, she thought. Elira knew she couldn't fight Leo alone. She needed someone with power, and someone Leo wouldn't suspect. She reached out to Marcus Langston, a sharp and discreet private investigator she'd once helped years ago. Marcus owed her a favor. When Marcus arrived, Elira laid out everything. Leo's plan to steal her family's fortune, the forged documents, and the fake confession tape. Marcus's eyes darkened with understanding. Leo's playing a dangerous game, Marcus warned. But he's sloppy. We can catch him in the act. They devised a plan to lure Leo into revealing his true intentions, something solid enough to expose him publicly. Elira invited Leo to an exclusive gala, promising to sign the final prenup there. On the night of the gala, under glittering chandeliers and the curious eyes of the city's elite, Elira was a vision of grace. Smiling, confident, unshaken. Leo arrived, smug and sure. But just as he moved to seal his victory, Marcus triggered a private message to all guests, playing a live feed of Leo's secret conversations, proof of his schemes, recorded right from Elira's hidden devices. The crowd gasped. Leo's face paled. Elira locked eyes with him and whispered, "Did you really think I was the only one playing?" Leo's revenge had just been returned. Tenfold. The gala erupted into chaos. Leo's carefully crafted image shattered in an instant. Whispers raced through the crowd as guests stared, shocked by the betrayal revealed on the big screen. Leo's jaw clenched. He tried to speak, but the room's cold silence crushed him. Elira, meanwhile, stood tall. But inside, a storm brewed. She hadn't just planned to expose Leo. She wanted something more. After the guests dispersed, Leo cornered Elira in the grand hallway. His eyes burned with desperation. "You think this is over?" he snarled. "You don't know what you're dealing with." Elira smiled, calm but firm. "I know exactly what I'm dealing with, and I'm ready." Then Leo did something no one expected. He confessed. He revealed that his thirst for revenge wasn't just about money or pride. It was about something deeper, a long-hidden family secret that intertwined their pasts in ways neither had guessed. "My father and your father," Leo's voice faltered. "They were partners, then enemies, and I'm the product of their mistakes." Elira's heart skipped. Could this change everything? Or was it just another twist in a game neither could afford to lose? She nodded slowly. "Then maybe it's time we rewrite the rules." Elira and Leo sat across from each other in the dim light of her father's old study, now a vault of forgotten memories. Leo's confession hung heavy in the air. "My father and yours built the hotel empire together," Leo explained, voice low. "But a betrayal tore them apart. My father was framed for embezzlement. Your father disappeared trying to clear his name." Elira's mind raced. Could their family's bitter history explain everything? "I always thought my father abandoned us," she said quietly. Leo shook his head. "Number, he was trying to protect you. But the truth was buried deep, under lies and greed." Together, they sifted through yellowed letters, faded photographs, and ledger books hidden in the study's secret drawer. They found clues. Names crossed out, deals broken, promises shattered. But one document stood out. A letter hinting at a lost will, one that could restore everything Elira's family had lost. Suddenly, their rivalry shifted. What had begun as revenge was morphing into a search for justice. Leo looked at Elira, a new respect in his eyes. "Maybe," he said softly, "we need each other after all." Elira smiled, a mixture of hope and challenge. "Then let's find that will together." With renewed purpose, Elira and Leo teamed up to find the lost will, a document that could change everything. Their first lead took them to an old lawyer's office, now abandoned and covered in dust. The building smelled of forgotten secrets. Inside, hidden behind a false panel in the bookshelf, they found a small locked box. Elira's hands trembled as she carefully picked the lock. Inside lay a worn envelope, sealed with a faded crest. They opened it slowly. The will. But just as they began reading, footsteps echoed down the hallway. "Who's there?" Leo whispered, alert. Suddenly, a figure appeared. A man Elira recognized from her father's past. Victor Crane, a ruthless businessman who had tried to seize their family's fortune years ago. Victor's cold smile sent chills down their spines. "You really thought it would be that easy," he sneered. Elira and Leo exchanged a tense glance. The fight wasn't over. With the will in hand, they had something powerful, but enemies willing to do anything to keep it hidden. They had to be smarter, faster. Elira's heart pounded with adrenaline and determination. "This is only the beginning," she said. Leo nodded. "And this time, we won't lose." Victor Crane's arrival was no coincidence. He had been watching them, waiting for the moment to strike. As he stepped forward, Elira clutched the will tightly, her mind racing for a plan. Leo stepped beside her, shielding her with a calm fierceness she hadn't seen before. "Victor, this ends now," Leo said firmly. "The truth will come out." Victor laughed coldly. "You underestimate what I'm capable of. That document means nothing without my silence." Before Victor could make a move, Elira pressed a hidden button on her phone. Instantly, Marcus Langston's team surrounded the building, ready to intervene. Victor's smirk faltered, but he wasn't finished. "You think your little tricks will save you? This game is far from over." A tense standoff followed. Then, surprisingly, Victor made an offer. "Drop the will. Walk away, and I'll disappear." Leo exchanged a look with Elira. The stakes were higher than ever, but Elira, her voice steady, responded, "No more deals. It's time for the truth." With that, Marcus's team secured the will, ensuring its safety. Victor was forced to retreat, humiliated but dangerous. As the dust settled, Leo turned to Elira. "You were right. Together we're unstoppable." Elira smiled, knowing the hardest battles were still ahead, but this victory was theirs. With Victor temporarily out of the picture, Elira and Leo felt a surge of hope. But they knew the real challenge was just beginning. The will was safe, but exposing the full truth would mean confronting enemies on all sides. Elira spent nights poring over the will's fine print, hidden clauses, secret beneficiaries, and conditions that could unravel everything. Leo helped, his usual arrogance replaced by focused determination. Then the unexpected happened. Elira's phone buzzed with a message. "Meet me. Midnight. Warehouse 17. No name." Curious and cautious, she shared the message with Leo and Marcus. They decided to investigate together. At the warehouse, they found an old friend of Elira's father, Margot, a woman thought lost to time. She revealed the final piece of the puzzle. A hidden ledger proving Victor's criminal network and his role in framing both families. Margot handed over a flash drive with evidence strong enough to take Victor down for good. But just as they prepared to leave, the warehouse doors slammed shut. Victor appeared, flanked by menacing guards. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" he sneered. "This ends tonight." Trapped, but armed with truth and allies, Elira met his gaze. "This ends on my terms." The stage was set for the final showdown, where nothing was certain and everything was on the line. The warehouse was cold and silent, except for the heavy footsteps of Victor's guards. Elira, Leo, and Marcus stood back to back, heartbeats racing, eyes sharp. Victor's smug smile filled the room. You think you've won? This is where your story ends. But Elira was ready. She pressed a button on her phone, and suddenly the warehouse flooded with bright lights and the sound of sirens. Marcus's team had arrived, law enforcement, alerted with the flash drive evidence. Victor's men hesitated, then panic spread. Elira stepped forward, holding the flash drive high. This proves everything. Victor's crimes, the lies about our families, and the truth my father fought for. Victor's empire crumbled as officers cuffed him. His reign of fear ended in the very place he thought he controlled. Leo looked at Elira with newfound respect and gratitude. You planned all this, didn't you? She smiled. I knew your revenge would come, but I was ready to turn it into justice. As dawn broke, Elira and Leo stood outside the warehouse, no longer enemies but partners united by truth and a shared past. Elira held the will close. It meant more than money. It meant family restored and a future reclaimed. Together, Leo said quietly. Together, she agreed. And with that, the tangled story of revenge, secrets, and power found its peaceful end. Proof that even the deepest wounds could heal when faced with courage and trust.